America has fallen in love with Chip and Joanna Gaines.
Right.
The couple that has created a fix-it-up revolution with their down-to-earth style and simple tips to make our homes beautiful.
Their magazine, the Magnolia Journal, published by our parent company, Meredith Corporation, is a beautiful array of their take on home, family, and life. And life has certainly changed for the couple. They shocked their fans when they announced that they would end their show, Fixer Upper, after this upcoming 5th season.
And as they begin a new chapter in their lives, Chip is out with a new book called Capital Gains.
How awesome.
Smart Things I Learned Doing Stupid Stuff. I sat down with Chip and Joanna to find out what's next as they write the rest of their story together.
As Chip and Joanna Gaines begin a new chapter in their life, Chip is out with a new book called Capital Gains, Smart Things I Learned Doing Stupid Stuff. It chronicles their journey from startup to superstardom.
1,000 to 1 odds, and I still wouldn't have bet for us. 1,000,000 to 1 odds, maybe. But all that to say, this has exceeded our expectations in every way imaginable. The opportunities that it's given us, the once-in-a-lifetime opportunities that we've been able to participate in. I was able to throw a pitch out at a Ranger game in the Arlington area, and rode in an F-16 fighter pilot, jumped out of an airplane.
And you're the more calculated one, so it really exceeded your expectations.
And it's funny, you haven't done any of those things I mentioned.
No, but the magazine, like a lot of mine are more the projects that I think for me are these once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. Magazine being the latest one that I
Yours are the ones that actually have a chance of potentially generating revenue.
It's been 1 year since the launch of the Magnolia Journal, and in her letter from the editor, Joanna says it's now one of her favorite parts of their growing empire. An empire that he wants you to know has not been without growing pains.
Finding that balance, especially as an entrepreneur and a risky guy by nature, you know, if I'm not sort of redlining it, if I'm not walking that tightrope, sometimes I get a little bored.
What's that like for you when he starts taking those risks?
I mean, I think at first, Chip will tell everyone I cried a lot, because he would surprise me. I mean, he would decide early on, I'm going to risk, and I'm going to tell Joe. But, you know, normally you kind of work on that together.
Look at this house that I bought.
But he'd already bought it. So I would cry because it was a risk, and it was a surprise. But now, almost 15 years later,
the roles have reversed.
Well, he's taught me how to be a risk taker, where I would say 15 years ago, I wouldn't have bet on any of this. You know, for me, it was just play it safe, play by the rules, and I think Chip just kind of encouraged me to kind of press past fear and failure and just go for it.
Chip's new book is kind of like a manual for pushing past fear.
But when it comes down to it and the fear is there, what do you do?
Sure. For me, it's working through it. I mean, you know, it's like I'm fearful, not necessarily, maybe not at the same level, I'd say, as typical folks, but I like fear, because then I realize that it must be relevant.
Despite the fear, Chip says go with your gut, like he did with this cover shot. It was the not-so-polished one that no one wanted.
And so by the time it was all said and done, there was like, you know, 811 votes to all of these other photos, and like 4 votes to the picture that I liked. And so I finally just put my foot down and I said, listen, guys, this is who wrote this book. Raise your hand if you wrote this book. And nobody raised their hand. I was like, I wrote this book, and I like this one with the beard and the looking off in the distance and the eyes that look gorgeous. I don't know if you looked closely at my eyes, but it probably, if you did, you probably took your breath away for a second.
The laughter is one of the reasons America fell in love with this couple. And they insist they are still very much in love, just ready to slow down a bit to enjoy life.
America wants to know what's next for you guys, because we've had the shocking news that the season is over.
Sure.
So talk to us a little about that, making that decision, following your gut to do that. That seems like a risky decision.
Yeah, I think for us this last year, we've been just kind of evaluating everything with our kids getting older, just feeling like season 5, just 5 seasons of Fixer Upper felt right. And there was really no, you know, everyone thinks something happened or something's happening, which is why we're kind of shutting this down. But really, at the end of the day, our gut just says it's time.
And for us, we just thought season 5 was the perfect time to wrap up this beautiful thing called Fixer Upper, and we're so thankful for this experience. We wouldn't have traded it for anything in the world.
Well, Capital Gains. The book was released earlier this week. You will find it at your favorite bookstore. So I know it's not the last we're hearing from them. Many good things.
Sure about that.